Hey everyone, I am back. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. I hope that you've had a wonderful week. Let me know in the wonderful chat here where you are tuning in from today. I reside in the Tampa Bay area of Florida, and it is still ridiculously hot, like ridiculously hot and very humid as Florida is. I'm just like, when is the fall coming? Like, I need some relief. It's just too hot and humid. But nonetheless, that's where I reside. But let me know again where you're tuning in from here in the chat. For those of you who are brand new to Mental Health Moment is all about how do you work on becoming the best version of who you are so you can show up powerfully for yourself and for the people around you. And again, thanks for those who are starting to join here. Dr. Hammond here with your Mental Health Moment. So, before I get started today on today's mental health moment, I want to give you a couple of quick updates slash announcements for you all. Hold on, let me point to the right place here. drnekeshiahammond.com/events is where you can go to get updated information of where I'll be speaking next. And sometimes it's virtually, sometimes it's in person, different places. But my team and I are doing our best to keep that as updated as possible. But sometimes you all get the information first before anyone else. So, but it'll definitely be updated on there too. Okay, so a couple of quick announcements. One, actually, let me put it in the chat again. One, which I'm super excited about, as many of you know, is my second annual Growth Mindset and Self-Care Summit is coming up on Friday, October 24th in Atlanta in person this year. Mindsettrainingsummit.com. Actually, I should have put it in the I'll try to put it in the description after this. I know, unfortunately, when I type things into the chat, it does not go to LinkedIn, so I apologize, but it is mindsettrainingsummit.com. And also for you all, especially BWE family, there is a BWE 100 promo code. So be sure to use that for $100 off the registration. And it's going to be a great day. I'm super, super excited. It is an all-day event. I have just an amazing group of speakers that will be there. So you're going to learn, you're going to laugh, we're going to have a good time. We're going to be in community with each other. And also there's also an after event for more networking. So it's learning, laughing, eating. There will be food there as well. But it is an all-day event, and I'm super excited to meet some of you all actually in person because last year, like I said, it was virtual. So I'm super excited about that one. That one again is in Atlanta. Friday, October 24th, in Atlanta, as I mentioned. So be sure to register. The deadline for early bird, I believe, is September 15th. Yes. It was changed a little bit. So the last date to get the early bird price is September 15th. So be sure to register. The other event that is coming up, and it is not on the drnekeshiahammond.com/events page as yet, but it's easy to go to. You can check Eventbrite. That is on Saturday, August 30th from 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern. I will be hosting, it's called Burnout Proof, and it's 5 steps to recharge your mental energy. It is a free virtual webinar, so it's open to anyone. You have to be there live, obviously, but it is open to anyone from noon to 1 p.m. Eastern that day. That's Saturday, August 30th. And again, and I'll put it here in the chat, and I'm sorry for my LinkedIn people that won't get it. But you can head to Eventbrite and just type in Dr. Nekeshia Hammond and it'll pop up on there. And it will be on the drnekeshiahammond.com events page very soon, but there's a lot happening, especially usually in the fall. So we're getting that updated as soon as we can. But I would love to see you all there as well. That's a virtual summit, as I mentioned. There's a couple other events coming up, but I don't want to go down a laundry list of events that I have. So again, you can always go to drnekeshiahammond.com/events to get the latest information on the virtual and the in-person events. Yes, I think those are all my announcements for today. So for those of you who are brand new, Mental Health Moment is all about how do you work on becoming the best version of who you are so you can show up powerfully for yourself and for the people around you. So today's Mental Health Moment, I really wanted to talk about, this is So important. I don't want you all to overlook this. It is a game changer, I feel like, when you make the commitment to this in your wellness journey, and that is setting your boundaries. Okay. So I know this is not something new that you've heard before, but hopefully, wherever you're at again in your wellness journey, this is a no judgment zone, but wherever you're at in your wellness journey, you can also um, understand once again how important it is for you to be setting your boundaries, whatever that may look like, for your mental health, for your self-care, right? That's actually a part of self-care. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips today of how you can sort of think about, like, how do you work on setting the boundaries that you have for yourself, right, in your life. And some of you that's been tuning in for mental health moment for a long time know I always share my journey. I am not here to be like I'm a perfect person or anything like that. I did many years ago just come from a place of just go, go, go mentality, running myself ragged, not practicing self-care like I should have, like that. And what's crazy is I always look back at that version of myself and I'm like, but that made sense. Like I rationalized not taking care of myself. I bought into like hustle hard and like work hard at the expense of myself. So please work hard, y'all. I'm not saying not to work hard, right? Be productive, do all the things that you want to do. However, and also be taking care of yourself and also be setting your own boundaries, which I had to learn over time. And it really wasn't until I hit burnout, I was like, wait a minute, this is not going to work in my life. Like it's not, it just wasn't healthy to do that. So fast forward to today, I get an opportunity to always share with you all, especially from a personal and professional place, how you can work on changing your life for the better. So the first thing I want you to think about is really think about what are your non-negotiables, right? So tip number 1 today is like if you had to even list, like if you had to write down right now, for those of you who are my note takers, I know some of you are, could you let me know? But if you're my note takers, like if you were to write down like your top 5 non-negotiables, meaning if you're going to say I am honoring myself, I am honoring my self-worth, I am honoring who I am, I'm working on becoming a better version of who I am, I'm working on my mental wellness. Like if you're really saying all those things to yourself, then what are your 5 non-negotiables that you can, just jot it down for you? Meaning sometimes you're just going to have to say no to things because it doesn't fit into what your boundaries are, right? Like you're going to have to, whatever your non-negotiable may be, right? For you, if you know, okay, I have to have X amount of self-care time a day or a week, and that's your non-negotiable, then sometimes we're going to have to say no to other things, right? Because you're saying, I'm going to put myself first and make sure I take care of myself, for example, right? For those of you who are just joining in and tuning in, it's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. Today, we're talking about the high level of importance of setting boundaries for your self care, like for yourself in your wellness journey, right? So, again, the first thing to really think about are what are your non negotiables? One of the things, and you know what's interesting? When you start, this happened to me personally, when you start making the changes for like when you really change your mentality and start making changes for the better, what happens is the things that you used to neglect about yourself could actually become your new boundary. It's the weirdest thing, right? So, like what I used to do, which I highly would not recommend for anyone, when I was in a state of mind of just running myself ragged, is I used to purposely, like barely get any sleep, right? Which is a horrible idea, by the way. Don't do that. Just getting like 2, 3, 4 hours of sleep. Like it again, because I had a different mentality back then. Until I realized, wait a minute, sleep is extremely important for you, by the way, for your body and your mind. So now fast forward to today, that's actually one of my non-negotiables, right? So as much as possible, and it may not be 100% of the time, but it may be like 90 to 95% of the time, I say, okay, I have to do whatever it is I had to get done on my day, and I have to make sure I'm getting adequate sleep for me because that's very important. That's very high on my list, right? That's a non-negotiable. If you're hearing some of these things now and you're like, Dr. Hammond, I'm just not in that space yet mentally, it's okay. We're all at different places in our wellness journey, right? But maybe one of your goals is, okay, I know I need to set boundaries for myself, right? Maybe you're not there yet. You're like, oh, I don't set any boundaries, right? It's okay. Then Maybe you don't have 5 non-negotiables written down. Maybe you have 1 or 2, which is okay, right? So I'm just giving you examples. You don't have to have the same non-negotiables as me. But I'm just giving you some examples just for you to think about because we all know what the healthy habits are, right? But it's just a matter of where is it that you need to set your priorities right now. So what I had to do over time was really set my priorities to my sleep. Extremely important, and it makes such a big difference anyhow. The other thing was exercise, like, it's one of my non-negotiables, unless something else is going on. Movement is extremely important because, again, it's so healthy and important for us, right? But again, that's just a couple things on my list. What are on your list, right? And what do you wanna jot down and think about making this commitment to for you? We all have different values, but sometimes we are all guilty of it. Sometimes we allow society and our quote busy lives and all those things to get in the way of our own mental health and wellness, which is why it's important. We just need to readjust, right? You may have whatever your wellness goals are, you may have been doing that last year or the year before. Something happens, you get off track. That is normal. Do not beat yourself up for that. That is so normal. Give yourself grace and say, you know what? I was doing, I don't know, let's say you were walking or something, like doing something healthy in your life and you had stopped for a little bit, like very normal when we're getting used to new habits, especially, but you can get back on track. You're allowed. That's good. That can happen, right? Where you prioritize things, that is completely up to you. As long as for you, what it is that you need to prioritize helps you to move forward and grow physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. Like when you can really sit down and say, you know what, if I did these things, that will allow me to grow and be a better version of myself, right? And be more fill in the blank, productive at work or better in your family life or better with your friends or whatever your goals are right now. The second thing is when it comes to your boundaries. So the first thing was really thinking about your non-negotiables and listing them out, and a lot of you guys did. The second thing is how are you communicating this with other people? Because sometimes I know like someone wrote on here, they need their alone time or they need their sleep or, family is important. Like all these things are important to us, which are great, but then it will happen. There's some outside forces around us that can interfere with whatever our boundaries are. So have you really thought about practicing for you? How are you communicating this with other people? I know a lot of people I know a lot of people actually. When they think about the different boundaries they set, and again, we all have different needs, but some people I know will say, okay, I shut off my cell phone after a certain time of the evening, or they'll say, I don't take work calls on the weekends if that's possible, or, things like that. But it is, again, we're all different in our needs, but it's really thinking about for you, like, what is it that you need? And how are you going to communicate that clearly and effectively and in a kind way to other people around you, right? 'Cause people know the current version or like an older version of who you are. So once you start to change, what'll happen is mentally you're trying to make changes, right? You're trying to put these new boundaries into place for you, but that doesn't necessarily mean the next person around you knows that. So they might expect that older version of who you are, right? Whomever you may be. So again, it does take some level of communication to say, hey, I'm working on, whatever it is that you're working on. And here's some new rules that I have in place for my own mental health. And a lot of people respect that. And even if unfortunately some people don't respect your new boundaries, you have to make the decision for you, like what is in your best interest, right? And what is going to allow you to grow as a person. There's this thing, I don't know if you guys have seen it. I've seen it before on, anyways, just throughout social media where they talked about like urgency culture. So it's just this idea that we think if someone texts us, like we have to respond with it like 30 seconds, or if someone calls us, we have to answer every call, or, like if it's an email or something, like it's this urgency culture where we feel compelled to immediately respond to things, which is exhausting, by the way. If you maybe have a lot of family members, or you have a lot of coworkers, or you have a lot of demands, if it's kids, grandkids, or whatever it is, like it can be really exhausting when you live in that state of mind of just quickly, constantly answering things versus like taking a pause, provided it's not an emergency, of course, but like taking a pause for you, right? Maybe you can wait longer than a minute or two to respond to that person, like for your sanity, like it's okay. Right. So just being careful not to buy in too much to like the urgency culture that we put on ourselves when we don't need to. Beautiful. And you know what's funny? Because I work with different corporations and organizations about burnout prevention, actually. Some companies I would say are really good at literally they will tell their employees like, "Do not check your work email. Do not jump on some work call. Like, please take care of yourselves." And some, which I love, those companies are very really good at like work-life balance and wellness, which makes me happy as a psychologist just to see that because that's important. But and also like someone was saying in the chat, like you right have to respect that sometimes because it can be tempting. Like, let me just log in or let me just check. But especially when you have a positive work environment that's like, no, we want you to take care of yourself. Like, we want you to go on vacation. We want you to take your mental health day, right? We want you to take care of yourself. That's a great thing. So that's the second tip is really to really think about how do you communicate this, right? With other people. And then the third thing is, and this is the hard one. Well, this is the last tip. The third tip to think about when it comes to your boundaries is to do your best to enforce your boundaries and to honor yourself and your boundaries consistently, right? So that's a hard thing, especially when it comes to taking care of ourselves. And then sometimes on our self care journey is that consistency piece. Because again, like some of you were saying different things that you do for your boundaries, and you might one day be like, yeah, I want to, I don't know, be in my self care zone. I want to take care of myself. I want to honor myself. And then like a week later, then you might start answering those calls again, right? Or you might start getting into a pattern of whatever it is that you didn't want to be in, like whatever negative habits and those sort of things. So doing your best to be as consistent as possible is really, really important for you to grow as a person. But also I want to put an asterisk on it and say that things do happen. We have the ups and downs of life. So please do not blame yourself. If you get off track in your wellness journey, do your best to get back on track when you are able to, right? When it's feasible for you, when it makes sense for you. And sometimes our boundaries, like for those of you who wrote down like your non-negotiables, you might have like, let's say 5 top things. And sometimes just things happen. So you might not be able to be as consistent with all 5 things, but maybe you're consistent with 3 of them or 4 of them, right? Like that counts too. Right. So let's again give ourselves grace and remember how important it is to at the end of the day, like honor yourself, right? Be there for you. Give yourself grace. Understand your self-worth. Understand your mental health and wellness is extremely important. Right. So, so those are my tips for you all today. When it comes to again honoring your boundaries, setting your boundaries. If you haven't already, some of you, you've already set certain things into place, and you're like, okay, let me work on being more consistent with it, which is amazing. And for some of you, you're like, you know what, I need a whole new reset and recharge and rethinking. Right, because we grow as people. What you needed 5, 10 years ago might not be what you need today, and just kind of rethink some things, which is okay. Again, either place you're in is okay. So as I wrap up today's mental health moment, I just wanted to remind you again, drnekeshiahammond.com/events are where you can go. Again, my team and I are trying our best to update as quickly as we can the events coming up, but there's a couple coming up, but the 2 I'll share again just one more time is mindsettrainingsummit.com, which is my in-person event this year for the Growth Mindset and Self-Care Summit. That is in Atlanta. Super excited about it. October 24th in Atlanta. You can register mindsettrainingsummit.com. And if you use BW100, you get $100 off the registration fee. It is a full day event. We're going to have a good time. You're going to learn some information. We're going to laugh. We're going to be in community together, and also have networking opportunities, of course. So super excited about that one. And also Saturday, August 30th from 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern, I'll be hosting a free webinar. You can get all the information on Eventbrite if you just search for my name. And we're working on updating the link on drnekeshiahammond.com/events. But that one is about burnout prevention. I'll go into more detail about ways to restore your mental energy. It is a free webinar, again, that I'm hosting for the community. You will have a chance to ask questions. I know sometimes I can answer questions on here, but sometimes there's actually a lot of comments coming in. So I will be available on that webinar, though, to answer some questions for people. So again, that one was Saturday, August 30th, 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern, and you can get the registration information on Eventbrite for that one. Those are all my announcements. Thank you guys for being amazing. Again, remember to work on setting your boundaries and honoring your boundaries. If you're just tuning in at the last minute, and we've been here for the last 25 minutes or so, you can always catch the replays on Dr. Nekeshia Hammond YouTube page for any mental health moments. I put the replays up on there, so you're welcome to tune in there as well. Have an amazing rest of your week. Be blessed. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you guys next. Have a great week, guys.